it, Kyoko.
Ricky and Kunio! They've been...
The Kunio Kun series is a series of games that were created originally by Technos Japan and are now owned by Arc System Works. They starred protagonist Kunio, with characters having a unique blocky art style. The first game, Neketsu Koa Kunio Kun, was localised as Renegade, and other well-known games include the Super Dodgeball games, Nintendo World Cup, and River City Ransom, otherwise known as Street Gangs. Chances are a lot of people would have played one of the series without even realising it. Well, this newest entry, River City Girls, goes back to the series' beat-em-up roots. Will it live up to its heritage? I'm Glenn for SwitchUp. Thank you to the developers WayForward for this review copy, and now let's find out. The story of River City Girls is a simple one, playing on the premise that many a beat-em-up has used over the years. High school students Kyoko and Misako are sitting in class bored when they receive a message that their boyfriends, Kunio and Ricky, stars of the original River City Ransom, have been kidnapped. Jumping up out of their seats, they attempt to go to the rescue, although they'll have to get out of detention first. River City Girls plays in a very similar fashion to many of the classic beat-em-ups, in that you control a 2D character on a 3D plane. You have a weak attack that you perform with the Y button, a heavy attack assigned to the X button, and you jump with B. As you progress, you will find certain weapons strewn across the area that you can pick up and use, and occasionally health pickups will appear after defeating enemies or by destroying certain objects. But the Kunio Kun beat-em-ups have always differed slightly from others, mixing in an interesting, albeit light, RPG element too, and I'm happy to say that this one is no different in that respect. Whilst the screen does lock, forcing you to clear all enemies before you can progress as you would expect, when it's unlocked, it is not necessarily just a case of continuing on to the right, as there are a few different paths and you will need to access your map in order to check where your destination is. After leaving the school and entering the town, the game becomes much more reminiscent of the original River City Ransom. Not all pathways will be available to you straight away, with certain parts unlocking as you progress the story. You can use the money that you've been collecting up to this point by defeating enemies to purchase items in a variety of shops that are scattered around the town. Available items include food that will replenish your health, and you can stock up on these and use them when you need them, which will come in handy during boss battles. As well as consumables, there are also items that you can acquire that will grant you a stat boost of some description. You have 2 available slots in order to equip any of the items you get. These are obtained through defeating bosses, or again can be bought in the numerous shops, and the skills they grant range from increasing your damage when you are throwing items to increasing the damage you do against either male or female enemy types. You do not know what an item does until you've bought it though, so this may lead to you buying items you don't necessarily want, and if you want to buy everything, you'll have to do a lot of fighting to grind for the money. There is also a dojo which allows you to learn new attacks. Basically, by fighting you will level up, and every time you do level up you will unlock new moves. Some of these are accessible to you straight away, whilst others must be purchased in the aforementioned dojo. Some of these are standalone moves, whilst others will extend your basic move combo when tapping the Y button. There are quite an impressive number of moves to learn, and whilst you'd probably never use most of them, it certainly offers a lot of variety in how you can dispatch enemies. So if you've ever wanted to defeat a policeman and a luchador by dabbing, well, here's your chance. Sometimes you may not need to dispatch enemies at all though, as they may beg for mercy. Should they do this, you have the option to recruit them to your team by pressing the L button when prompted. Once recruited, they act as an assist character. With a press of the L button again, bringing them temporarily into action, they have a certain number of hit points and will be lost to you should they lose those points. You will unlock the profile to each of the enemies you recruit, and the game encourages you to collect them all, as if they were football stickers or baseball cards. Talking of collectibles, the game also includes 25 statue busts hidden throughout its levels for you to try and smash. Doing so will net you a reward. The more open nature of the levels is a very refreshing change, and you will find yourself accepting quests from characters. Nothing much more taxing than buying them a burger and bringing it back to them, or stealing a security guard's keys, but it changes the gameplay up nonetheless. With the extra backtracking that this brings, you can fast travel by jumping on the bus and choosing which station you'd like to go to, and I loved all of these little aspects about the game. If I had to pick a beat 'em up that it reminded me of most, other than River City Ransom of course, it would be the Scott Pilgrim vs the World game that came out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, with the coin collecting and levelling up system very similar, as well as other little aspects such as being able to use enemies as a weapon. You only have one life, and if you do die, you will respawn at the start of the last screen you entered minus some of your money, around 25% if my maths is correct. The game includes couch co-op, and I tried this out with my daughter. She's not much into games at all, but she absolutely loved this one. The unicorn in Torchlight 2 and now this. Perhaps I'll get her into gaming after all. When playing in multiplayer, each character levels up individually and each has their own money, and if one of you dies, the other has a chance to revive them by touching their ghost before it leaves the screen, much like in Cuphead, and if this fails, they can enter back into the game from the next available screen. It does mean a bit of waiting around for less experienced players who may well die more often, but it's probably a fair compromise. You also have the option to turn friendly fire on or off in the options menu. Always off, surely. Finally, there are 2 difficulty levels available to you, being normal mode and hard mode. River City Girls is a fantastic new addition to the much loved series, which keeps the light RPG elements synonymous with the series and serves up a worthy dose of beat 'em up action. Each hit has that weighty feel that all the best beat 'em ups have, and it feels less repetitive than others in the genre due to the other aspects, although fatigue will undoubtedly still set in at times, but thankfully you can save at any time, and gameplay receives 19 out of 20. Controls are simple and responsive, with a whole host of moves to learn, so many that sometimes I found myself pulling off the wrong one due to one move's command prompt being similar to another's, but on the whole they receive 18 out of 20. River City Girls uses a pixel art style that falls somewhere in between a 16 and 32-bit look. The sprite work is fantastic, with characters looking alive due to smooth movement and also quite vivid idle animations. There are a decent amount of enemy sprites too, the repetition of these being something that can bog down beat 'em ups at times, and whilst you'll still see a lot of colour palette swaps of the same character model, there are enough new ones sprinkled in at quite a consistent interval to keep things interesting. I love the little nods to other games, from the obvious ones like the original Kunio character sprite being used to offer hints, down to this boss battle here reminding me of the final confrontation with Shredder in Turtles in Time, although this fella throws NES machines at you rather than retro mutagen rays. The backgrounds are bright, colourful and again varied, although background characters are a little too static at times. You will visit a variety of locations and they all have their own style. There are a lot of nice little touches that just add a bit of charm, such as walking into a puberty lesson whilst fighting your way out of the school. Most cutscenes are static images, although there are some animated ones before boss fights, and these have a beautiful anime look, whilst also having that classic way forward character model look to them too. In terms of the audio, the game goes for a mix of a musical score and full songs complete with lyrics. I was quite impressed with how much music was included in the game, and although it might not always be the techno, heart-pounding, head-thumping music you'd expect from a beat 'em up, it feels oddly appropriate at the same time. River City Girls also includes voice acting. The writing really does push the high school angle with a lot of modern colloquialisms and text talk used. There are plenty of OMGs, totes and hellas. I've never said any of those words before in my life. I actually feel quite weird now. But the story is well written, with cutscenes providing a lot of charm considering that they are static images. The characters interact well, and whilst a little juvenile, I enjoyed watching these.
What's happening?
It's a flashback. No one cares, Yamada!
The game's visuals and audio just scream high production values, with high quality pixel art and beautiful hand-drawn cutscenes seeing visuals score 19 out of 20. Audio on the other hand has the high octane beats you would expect, but manages to combine it with a more serene lyrical music too, and it actually works quite well. Voice acting is juvenile but fun, and audio receives 18 out of 20. River City Girls costs £26.99, €29.99 or $29.99, and whilst this is a high price for a beat 'em up, you must consider that this is not your usual arcade style beat 'em up that you can beat in about 45 minutes if you spam continues. With all that said, it's still possibly a little bit too high, but it has been so lovingly crafted that it's quite hard to quibble. Had this been a mainstream retail release, I would be endorsing the price point completely, but it appears that it will only be physical via limited run games. Now, I've nothing against this company at all, but games this good surely need to get fully fledged physical releases. Nonetheless, value gets 16 out of 20. To conclude, River City Girls is a fantastic beat 'em up. The fighting feels right, the less linear nature is great fun, and the light RPG element add an extra layer of depth in keeping with the tradition set by its forefather, River City Ransom. The pixel art is the sort that should be shown to all and sundry to prove just why, when done correctly, it's still a valuable asset to the industry, and the music hits all the right notes, pun very much intended. Whilst objectively there are better games on the Switch, whisper it quietly, but this might be my new favourite Nintendo Switch game. River City Girls gets a SwitchUp score of 90%. Thank you as always everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. We've had a fantastic week in terms of new subscribers, so thank you to each and every one of you. Welcome aboard. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.